Hello and welcome to Asian Pulse Television. I am your host, Rahana Ali. Thank you for tuning into your informative and educational network. Hope you all have had a great couple of weeks of the new year so far. Remember that the Omicron virus is still here and we all have to be very careful who we hang out with and to also know if the people we are hanging out with, if they are vaccinated. If not, talk to them and let them know that we all follow science and every treatment we receive in the hospital is science-based. So it's important for all of us to keep ourselves safe as well as those around us safe too. UBC is extending its classes until the beginning of February so that students can do their work online, as they don't feel it's safe to have so many people at the university at this time. I will be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Buying or selling a house is a difficult process. Get Brent Prakash from Saba Realty Limited to find you your dream home, whether it's your first house, upgrading, or investment property. Always at your service with a fast, friendly, and honest opinion. Brent Prakash will guide you through the entire process. Get in touch with him today for a free, no-obligation consultation at 778-840-5866. I understand how important it is to have a place called home, and it's frustrating using your hard-earned money on rent. Vic Prasad can make you a homeowner. Get pre-approved services provided to first-time buyers and new immigrants. You can qualify for mortgage even if you have bad credit. Call Vic Prasad now on 604-306-6647. Vic Prasad is associated with Craft Mortgages Canada Incorporated. I understand how important it is to have a place called home, and it's frustrating using your hard-earned money on rent. Vic Prasad can make you a homeowner. Get pre-approved services provided to first-time buyers and new immigrants. You can qualify for mortgage even if you have bad credit. Call Vic Prasad now on 604-306-6647. Vic Prasad is associated with Craft Mortgages Canada Incorporated.
Community Outreach Pharmacy, providing in-home pharmacy services.
This includes our specialized diabetes and blood pressure monitoring program,
Free blister packing, free deliveries, and an in-home injection service throughout the whole Lower Mainland.
Call us at 604-777-5601 for more information.
Hello, you are watching Asian Pulse, and today my guest is David Garewal. As you all might have heard his name in the newspaper and the media, he ran in the last election as a Liberal candidate in Vancouver Fraserview. And when I read about him, I was very impressed. Young rising star, young person. And I thought one day I'm going to invite him to introduce him to you and ask him what his vision is and who David Garewal is, and those people that might not know him. Now you'll get to know him. Welcome, David.
Thank you very much, Camilla. It's a real honor to be here, and thank you very much for those kind words.
Just introduce yourself. Let people know who you are.
Yeah.
So, young person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice. Thank you so much. I was born and raised in Vancouver, but my family roots go right back to 1934. My grandfather immigrated at the age of 14, and my father came in 1961. I've spent most of my life in Vancouver, with the exception of 4 years when I went to Saskatchewan, where I studied engineering and business.
Okay.
Coming back to Vancouver after that, I was gainfully employed in the energy industry. In 2003, I started my own energy brokerage firm and co-founded that company, which I have today, and that's what keeps me busy most of the time. Love the outdoors. I'm an avid skier and love camping and the natural, the wilderness and the natural world around us. Are really something that.
So you said something too, that your father came in 1961. So I mean, like a generation, just looks like third generation. Your grandfather came, your dad came, and you were born raised in here, right? So what was it like for your dad? But maybe he went through schooling in here and he just fit in, or what was experience for your dad that time?
Yeah, I often...
Being a man of color or being a South Asian man, that's what I meant, yeah.
You know, my father, his experience was very different than my grandfather's experience.
Right.
1934 and 1961 seemed like two completely different worlds. My father, when he arrived, we had made a lot of progress from the 1930s, of course, and the 40s when it came to prejudices and whatnot. And there was a different spirit in the air in the 1960s, which was a lot more about welcoming people, being more inclusive. just a different way of thinking. And so for my father, his experiences in Canada were very good. He said at that time, people were just very nice to him, and he was very. Very thankful for Canada for allowing him to come here and live out his dreams. So his experiences were very good, he said. But one thing he did mention to me in growing up was you may have to work much harder
Yes.
than your counterparts
Yeah.
in order to achieve that success. So that was
The goal,
ingrained in,
yeah.
in me very early on. So those were kind of the words of my father and his advice. And he's passed on now, but it still resonates with me to this day.
Yeah. Wow. So you have your own business now. What motivated you to run for the Liberal Party? What do you see in Liberal Party that you want to be part of that team in Ottawa?
Yeah, well, what was the BC Liberals that I ran with?
Oh,
It was a
okay.
provincial party. It really espoused the same values that I have and the same principles. I'm very proud of many of the accomplishments of the BC Liberals over the last several decades. It was about bold, ambitious plans for the province, real visionary type of an approach. And when you take a look at a lot of the large infrastructure programs that we've seen in this province, a lot of it can be attributed to those bold and ambitious cathedral type of thinking that really drew me to the BC Liberal Party. And it wasn't always perfect. I think there was missteps along the way, and I think that part of it is admitting when you have those missteps, and but be proud of the accomplishments that we did have as a party, and so I'm continuing to stay involved, and will continue to push for the values and principles that I believe in.
Good. And I think your family must be liberal at some point in time, or even now they vote for Liberals and all that. There's a leadership for the Liberal Party is going on in Victoria. Would you throw your name in there?
I think just I think for me at this point in time, it's I'd like to be involved in helping the party reshape its policies and rebuild for the next election, and really working hard to ensure that we have the right leader at the helm. And I think that someone like Kevin Falcon, who has put his name forward, is certainly a candidate that I can get behind, who's a real builder. He was a transportation minister in this province, Minister of Finance for a short period of time, but who has that type of big, bold, visionary
ambition.
thinking. Yeah, real cathedral-style thinking that I think we need to have in this province. And it'll benefit everyone. I think that there's a real focus on addressing where the BC Liberals went wrong, and I think a lot of that stems from a lack of understanding what families were looking for in the last election. And so I think by retooling, rebuilding, I want to be a part of that process. In terms of running again an election, it's we just got out of an election, so I'm sure over the next few years I'll be thinking about it, and it just depends on
Well, time
what point
goes
I am
so
in my life.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, time really goes very fast. In 2024, maybe the provincial election will be called. So it's not that far away, because we have been under pandemic for 2 years. So what are your strengths? If you become a MLA, what are you contributing? What are your strengths to be giving it to the party, or to your constituents for that matter?
Yeah.
How you will be representing them?
Well, for me, I'm never one of those. I'm one of those folks that doesn't always say that I have all the answers. But for me, politics is about asking the right questions. It's about working with people across the aisle, trying to build consensus.
Yeah.
It's about reaching out to different communities, trying to understand what are the issues on the ground, consulting that engagement process. It's very important to me. Of course, I bring my own ideas and my own vision, but you have to take into account the interests of the community. Vancouver Fraserview, it's a real honor to run in that riding, because it's the most diverse riding, one of the most diverse ridings, both ethnically, culturally, linguistically, in the entire province. And understanding a riding like Vancouver Fraserview, once you've figured that out, you can figure out a lot of, you can figure out where things are going with increasing diversification, demographical changes. So I think for any party to understand Fraserview is to understand where British Columbia is going as a province. So for me, it's all about engagement and understanding and taking that more of a consultative approach to governing. That's really important.
When I was reading your bio when you were running, to me it was like a new kid on the block and so young, and I never had your name before, and I'm pretty sure that the people in Fraserview were not, there are people that have run once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, so at some point you always get to know more and more people. But your name, but you did very well. That's what I want to say. That even running for the first time and in a diverse community, you got quite a few votes in there. And so how are you going to change your strategy if you do decide to run next time? And I urge you to run because you are vibrant, young, you have a voice, is very well spoken, you have a business background. The people that are struggling with the business now under the pandemic, how do we rebuild British Columbia?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and my commitment to the people of British Columbia is still there. Just because I didn't win doesn't mean you walk away. The reasons that you wanted to run in the first place still remain, and there's a lot of work to be done. For the folks in Vancouver Fraserview, what we did do is we tried to reach out to as many people as we could. On my campaign, we had federal Conservatives, federal Liberals, we had provincial and former provincial NDP folks, all working on my campaign. And I think one of the things that I'm very proud of is running a campaign of folks from different political, different political parties, all joining in and looking in the same direction. And I think if we can do more of that in politics, we can get a lot of things accomplished. And I will continue to work in that respect. Getting people of all different backgrounds, all different political views. It's when we get people together in the same room that we can actually get some great ideas, and we realize that we have actually more in common than we have differences. And so by doing that, continue to reach out to folks, continue to build the brand and what I stand for, I think we'll get there. We had a little bit of a setback with respect to a snap election call. It didn't give us the runway or the time to really develop that outreach into the communities. But hopefully, in the future, we don't have these snap election calls. We stick to fixed date elections, which allows the people to really know their candidates and ask the right questions, be able to engage with them. I think that's so important in a democracy.
And have town hall meetings and things like that, trying to get the community together. So we are still in the pandemic, and you are a businessman in here. And so talk a little bit about what has this pandemic done to the businesses in Vancouver, because you represent British Columbia, Vancouver. Is there any chance once we open up that life or the businesses be able to get back on the feet and be able to maintain wherever they left off, or they will have to have a lot of rebuilding to get where you were or other businesses? Because how do you protect that? What do you see?
Yeah, I think if we have the right policies and we put forward a good restart plan that takes into account and takes into consideration the hardships that many small businesses have endured, then we have the opportunity to really build back better, as we call it. There are many industries and businesses that have done extremely well during the pandemic, and some of them are grocery outlets and other businesses. But restaurants and other small businesses where there's a lot of engagement with the public, which were susceptible to many of the protocols for COVID, they've suffered, and we've had a lot of businesses that have gone under. It's going to be very difficult to bring those businesses back, but I think what we can do is lay out a clear plan as to where we're going to go and give businesses some certainty, and I think that's part of it. But putting forward good policies that take into account the sacrifices and the hardships that small business owners go through every single day, I think that's a good start. But we have no plan at this point that really shows that there's that the restart plan is going to benefit those specific businesses. The tourism sector is another sector that has been hit very hard, And with the recent announcement by the U.S. government that they will be circumventing British Columbia, is going to cost our economy a significant amount of money, and particularly in Vancouver, in the
Yes.
West End, Gastown, and other areas where tourists are coming to.
All the businesses were surviving on that. That was my next question I was going to ask you. They bring billions of dollars to the economy in here, and there is no ferry, no cruise ships and all that coming, and that will be a huge impact for all the small businesses that are on Pender Street and downtown Vancouver and things like that, restaurants, gift shops and things like that.
Yeah, I'm the vice chair for the West End Business Improvement Association.
Okay.
And so we discuss this every month. It's been something that is very challenging. A lot of the hotels in the West End that rely on those cruise ships, they're currently at an occupancy rate of under 15%. With a restart, imminent. But the lack of cruise ships coming into
Yes.
Vancouver, I don't know what the plan is going to be for their survival going forward. And the West End benefits significantly from the cruise ship industry. So this is something that is very serious. It's something that I think we need to see some strong leadership in. It doesn't matter whether it's NDP or the BC Liberals are in power.
It's survival.
This is for the people
survival
of British
the business,
Columbia
yeah.
and for particularly our downtown core and the small businesses that really are just keeps getting the hits. Once it's COVID, then it's cruise ships, and so what is next? And I think that we live in very uncertain times, but this is also in the midst of a crisis when you see true leaders are born, and we need to see some of that leadership.
If you are elected as a MLA for that area for Fraserview and Vancouver Fraserview, what would you have done different? I mean, we are softly opening up, right?
Right.
But like I say, $1 billion, 2.5 billion, I think. The tourism brings to the treasury of BC, and how would you have done anything different? What would you have, I mean, as a businessman too, how would you have created a plan that to support the businesses that are struggling or they might close because people are not going to come back, and we don't have people. Local people are not going to go and stay in the hotels, right? We need foreigners to come here and spend the money and stay in the hotels and restaurants, etc., etc.
Yeah, well, I think for starters, the provincial government was withholding much of the funds that were supposed to be allocated to small businesses, and they continue to, the rollout of those funds to small businesses has been delayed time and time again, and so when businesses needed the most, they weren't receiving that support that was already allocated in the budget, and much of those monies came from the federal government as well. So there was a little bit, in my opinion, the ball was dropped with respect to businesses urgently needing that money, and the money still hasn't been, given to the small businesses in an expeditious manner. With respect to the cruise ship industry, I think one thing is that we cannot be viewed as being naive.
Yeah.
When the American senators and senators and congressmen indicated that this is something they were going to do, I think it was very irresponsible of us to assume that this would not become a permanent policy. Now, with this potentially becoming permanent, this could have drastic and dramatically negative effects on our economy in the longer term. So those cruise ships that bypass Vancouver
go to
is going to
Alaska,
be something that will be
or Victoria, as a matter of fact, as well.
Yeah, and it could be permanent. And so, the American government indicated that this was something that they were going to look seriously at. I think the province was caught off guard and flat-footed, and was naive for that matter. And I think that now we're going to have to backpedal and try to figure out a solution. There was a solution earlier on where the Americans were saying they would just simply dock at the port, not have any passengers come ashore. I think that was a grave mistake and an error in judgment. in assuming that somehow this business would continue into the future, and now could be something that's permanent. And this will affect the taxi industry, hotels, restaurants, the list goes on and on. So it will be something that will permeate into much of the downtown economy and eventually throughout the region.
There's another industry. What is your take on opening the borders? Because there's no skiing. Americans come, and Americans also. How many Americans visit BC or every day? And they bring money here too, and they go skiing or keep the money here, or spend the money in here, because BC is so beautiful. Do you feel that it's about time? I mean, when we are talking about that, we may be phase 2 right now, and phase 3, July 1st. Do you highly believe that we should be opening the borders for the Americans to come in and spend their money here?
Well, I always like to see Americans spend their money in British Columbia. It benefits our economy tremendously, and particularly our small communities where skiing, I'm an avid skier myself, so I completely understand. But I think that, for me, the two most important roles of government, first being it's important for government to protect the rights and freedoms of its citizens. That, to me, is its foremost role. But number 2 would be to ensure the health and safety of British Columbians is intact. So I would defer to our health experts on that and rely on their expertise. I don't want it to become something that becomes political in nature. It shouldn't be. It's your health. It's your family's health. It's all your viewers' health at risk. So whenever the health officials believe that it's
timing is right,
it's safe to do so, I would go with and defer to their judgment on that. Politicians should be making that decision. But if we can create protocols,
smart politicians.
That's right. But if we can create certain protocols where anybody that does come over, we're 100% sure that they don't have COVID. Perhaps there could be some kind of a system in place so that we can allow tourists to come over the border so long as they are healthy and don't have COVID or any symptoms of COVID.
And there's got to be checks and balances in place to make sure anybody going this way or that way have 2 shots already, because that's the only thing we have in our control right now. That we don't have any magic wand to do anything or step the virus gonna be gone. We don't know.
No.
But as long as we have both the shots, and 75% people have got the second, or at least 1 dose, and hopefully that very soon in future people will be thinking about that and maybe having the next dose as well. So you're free to travel, interprovincial, outside province. So last word.
What should I say in my final words to the public? Well, I certainly hope that, particularly for young people that are looking to get into public service, I would provide maybe some advice for them. And that is, if you're going to enter public service, do so because you have a set of convictions and values and principles, and don't waver from them. And I would also say that know your reason why.
Okay.
Quite often when you ask people why they're running, they don't know why. And I would say, as my father said to me in a text message when I decided to run, he said 4 words, and he said, always maintain your integrity.
We have known you for the last 2 decades, and in that time, you have done your PhD in this field and a lot more. Now have your pen and paper ready. We have some announcements that might be of interest to you. CULSA Ex-Students Reunion 2023 in Fiji. If you are an ex-CULSA student and would like to join the rest of your buddies and celebrate with them, then this is for you. Please let us know, as we only have limited spaces left. For more information, please contact Camilla Singh at 604-537-5123 or go to Facebook at CULSA Reunion 2023 and register. January 17th is known as Blue Monday. It started in 2005 by citing psychologist Dr. Cliff Arnall, a formula that points to the 3rd Monday in January and is known for being the gloomiest day of the year. It's also known as the most depressing day of the year, precisely. So it's important to keep in track with your mental health. January 26th is also known as India's Constitution Day. India became independent on August 15th, but it took them 5 months to adopt this constitution and then follow its constitution. Happy India's Constitution Day. January 26th is Let's Talk Day. We continue to focus on action to increase awareness around mental health and mental illness. We encourage Canadians and people worldwide to keep listening and to keep donating to the Helpline for Youth, so that youth will have a space to talk to their peers. Let's all support Bell's Let's Talk. We've run out of time now and hope that you have enjoyed the show as much as I do bringing it to you. If you have missed our show today, you can always tune in on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. and Saturdays at 5:30 p.m. All our shows are also broadcasted in Calgary, as well on Channel 10 on Shaw. All our shows are uploaded on YouTube under Camilla Singh Shows. If you'd like to sponsor this show or any other shows that we bring to you, please call 604-537-5123. Before I leave, I will leave you with these thoughts. There is always some problem, some killing, some murder or terrorist act or scandal everywhere, every day. But if you think the whole world is like this, you are wrong. Out of 7 billion humans, the troublemakers are just a handful. This is advice from the Dalai Lama. With that, have a wonderful day and see you all next week on the same channel and same station. In the meantime, take good care of yourself and those around you. Bye for now.